Welcome to a conversation with Senator Michael Moore, a conversation which is long overdue since it's been a while since Michael and I have had a conversation, at least sitting at this table with this camera rolling. My name's Kevin Byrne. Senator Moore is our state senator representing Shrewsbury and a bunch of other communities that have changed because his district has been, or he has been redistricted. We're going to talk about who
And I thought we were going to catch you on that one.
all of those people
When you were going to start going through the 8 communities, I was going to try to see if you picked up on it.
That's exactly right. All right. Well, first of all, it's been a while. We have to apologize. I had said in December we're going to do this on a regular basis, and then you know what happened? That was a week or two before Christmas, and then Christmas happened, and then New Year's happened, and then January happened, and then the world opened up, and we started traveling all over the place, and you were going like mad crazy doing everything, and the two of us just couldn't hook up for a long period of time. But here we are, it's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Do you know who St. Valentine was?
No.
I don't have a clue who he was either. Okay?
I thought you had a punchline to
well,
that.
I wish there was a punchline. He's one of those medieval martyrs who got killed by the infidels and boiled in oil or whatever he was. That was what
See, I thought Hallmark had
Does anybody
invented him.
know who St. Valentine is? Okay?
No idea. No clue.
Well, all right. If you know who they are, write or call Michael Moore's office.
Yes.
But let's just go through this for a while, okay?
Okay.
Christmas was where? Here in central Massachusetts?
Yes. Yeah. Central Mass. Yeah.
All right.
And then the Christmas and New Year's here.
Yeah.
So I had the kids were here for Christmas. Then they went down to Florida for
Ooh,
New Year's.
Okay.
And
Florida for New Year's.
Yeah.
Was it a gift or did they?
Oh no, they go every year to see
I
their
see.
grandparents.
Oh, gotcha.
So,
Okay.
So they went down there for that, and then my daughter went back to school, so finish up her last semester at college. She
that's amazing. That
she
is
graduates May 21st, and my son
Whoa.
is now back at UMass Amherst for the second semester.
Good for him.
So far he made it through the first 3 months.
Knock on wood.
And,
That's the hardest part, I would imagine.
What's that?
That would be the hardest part, I would expect.
Yeah.
Kids starting college, okay, especially if they go away to college, okay, and you're not, coming home where parents are kicking around with it anyway.
Yeah, I was.
A lot of them, Virginia used to say, they would come back when she had students go to college and come back at the Christmas break, which used to go on for, to the mid part of January or something like that.
Well,
And
actually,
she
his
said
Christmas break was funny. His went from December 22nd until February, I think like
February?
3rd or 4th.
My God.
And then my daughter's, she actually went back January 18th. So, but
It's intriguing.
it's getting exposed to all the nightly activities out there, and so
It's a whole new world.
yeah.
It
So he
really
passed. He did well. So now I'm hoping that now that he's been exposed to that, he'll buckle down a little bit harder and
See what happens.
see what happens. Yeah.
Right.
But he made it through the first 3 months. which is-
Absolutely. That's,
so-
that's pretty good. And then, everything just, we were traveling around, we went to New York, we did stuff like that, and we just never hooked up. Okay, now, let's go back to who do you now represent other than the marvelous 38,000 plus residents of Shrewsbury?
So
You
now,
still have the same part of Worcester.
no, actually, I lost the far west side of Worcester.
Far
So
west
from the
side of
Leicester line to College Hill,
Oh, yeah?
I lost that section of Worcester. So I
Okay.
have
So
College
that was
Hill.
a ward.
Yes, yeah, a couple wards, and then
Okay.
so I lost that in some parts of Maine South.
Okay.
And I still have, actually, I still do have some parts of Maine South.
Okay.
So I have I have College Hill, some parts of Kelly Square, Vernon Hill, a little part of Maine South, Vernon Hill, Plantation Street, and
Okay.
Plantation area, and actually I now have one side of Shrewsbury Street all the way down, and then on the east side I have a portion of it.
Okay, so you picked up.
Yes, Well, I picked up and shifted.
Okay.
And then I have the towns of Auburn, Millbury, Grafton,
Okay, wait a minute.
Shrewsbury,
Auburn, Millbury,
Grafton, Shrewsbury, and Westboro.
and Westboro. All of Westboro?
All of Westboro.
Whoa, okay.
So I lost the town of Leicester.
Leicester.
I lost the town of Upton, and I had half of the town of Northbridge, which I lost.
Northbridge. Oh, okay.
So so now
Whitensville.
Whitensville, yes. Yeah. So Senator Ann Goby picked up the town of Leicester, and she's actually coming to Worcester. So
But Ann is from
Ann
west.
is from the right for the west.
Okay.
So she lost a lot of towns. She went from I think 28 towns down to 20 or 22 towns.
Now, this is all done based on census, correct?
Yes. Yep.
So that the number stays
It's
somewhere 100. It used to be 170,000, 170,000.
Well, the previous 10 years, the ideal district was 165,000.
Okay.
And you can be plus or minus 5%. So I was
You were
a
on
little over.
170.
I was a little over 170,000.
Yeah, okay.
Now, with the population, the ideal district at this time is 175,000 people.
Oh, okay.
So plus or minus.
Okay.
Now, the population west of Worcester didn't keep pace. So what they did is they kept to keep the same amount of Senate districts.
Right.
They targeted closer to 165 for the districts going west of Worcester.
In the west parts.
Western part of the state. Now there's more people. There was more people that the Senate district might be a little larger going further east.
Right.
So
You get some of those little communities out there. We had kind of a history of going out in the summertime to Lenox and to Tanglewood and that sort of stuff. And driving out there is absolutely hysterical. Where's Otis? Okay, Beckett. Where is Beckett? Okay. What's the population?
You've got Peru. You've got
absolutely-
Shelby Falls.
Absolutely.
Florida, Mass.
Absolutely crazy, for
Yeah.
Pete's sake, I can remember when I was town moderator, every year, well, there's something called the Massachusetts Moderators Association.
Oh, okay.
There's nothing more exciting than going to they used to do a weekend convention on their annual meeting, and it was sitting around the table with 200 town moderators discussing parliamentary procedure. If
Now
you
that had to
needed-
be
If
interesting.
you needed a cure for insomnia, my friend, okay, but then they started doing it where they'd have small towns with moderators for small towns, middle-sized towns, and big towns. Okay, so we were in the big, not the big, the medium-sized town, 30 some odd thousand. And I said, I'm bored with those people. Shouldn't say that. And I went to the small town people anyway. Most of them were out there, and they said, we had a town meeting. We had open town meetings, not representative town meetings, and we got all 150 of our residents to show up, of our voters to show up at the meeting. And I'm saying, oh my God Almighty, it is a different world, isn't
Yeah,
it? Huh?
it really is.
All right.
Yeah. So actually, now you're talking about just the different types of town meeting. The only two communities, obviously Worcester being a city, doesn't have
Right.
town
Council,
meeting.
right.
But so all the other communities have a town meeting.
Yeah.
The only two that have an elected town meeting are Auburn and Shrewsbury.
Yeah, that's right.
The rest are just open town
Open
meetings.
town meetings, right.
Yeah.
Right. That's-
And a lot of them, because of the COVID, actually reduced the quorums. So
Yeah.
now the
Yeah.
number of people to show up is much less.
We did that in Shrewsbury, but hopefully we did it just temporarily, because we were 240, and they said, okay, it's going to be 170. And then we had a couple of them outside, sitting in a tent outside. Fortunately, it didn't rain.
So there's been some discussions where a lot of the different advocates for cities and towns are trying to get us to extend the option for some cities and towns on a home rule or local
Petition,
option type
yeah.
basis to allow them to continue to have town meetings virtually. So we just voted on rules.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we just voted on rules in the Senate, in the House. They're negotiating the joint rules right now, but we continued for the Senate and the House. We vote separately on those. Both branches did continue for our hearings on bills to have a virtual component to it. So that's something we will continue to do.
Okay.
So this way, you know, if you have someone come in from Beckett or Dalton or Otis, they don't have to come in anymore.
They come in, they can sit on their tractor and.
Well, the problem they're going to have is just making sure they have Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They might not have gotten out there yet.
That is so funny. Okay, enough of that. We are in a new administration.
Yes.
Well, by the way, the Senate, you
Yes.
are now, did I read, you only have 3 Republicans in a 40-person?
Yeah, well, we had 3 last session too.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, and then the session before that,
Oh, so you
that,
didn't
it
lose
was
a pickup in?
4 or 5.
Okay, all right, then it was the House that lost a bunch of Republicans.
Yeah, the House had, we have 5 new senators. I think the House had quite a
Nixon age.
quite a number of new legislators coming out. I'm not sure of the ratio of Democrats to Republicans.
They had 32 or 33, and they're down to the high 20s now, so they kept losing it. The direct result of Jim Lyons and the organized Republican State Committee. My God, they finally kicked him out.
It was still a close vote. I think it was only like a 7 or 8 person margin.
I think it was even closer than that, for Pete's sake. You know?
So I know they've got some financial
Right.
difficulties.
They got a lot of serious financial problems.
Yeah. I think someone asked me this morning if it was at one of the meetings if it was possible for a party to file bankruptcy. I don't know. But you know, so I think the important thing is they chose a new chair of the committee.
Yeah.
So hopefully this person will come more in line with.
With the world as it exists
In Massachusetts.
not as they expect they might be able to make it, which
And
it's too bad. You know, it's absolutely fascinating. There are no Republican statewide office holders, are there? Everybody's a Democrat. No, yes.
yeah,
it
everyone's a
is.
Democrat
Yeah,
right now.
Everybody is, right.
And the majority are women now.
Yes, exactly.
Right? We have the
All
governor,
right, now,
lieutenant
let's
governor.
talk about Haley Driscoll, the new lady, the new ladies. I'm sorry, can I say that? I don't know what's appropriate anymore. Women.
Well, the administration has, because it's a changing of administration, they have an additional month, a time period to file their budget.
Right.
So normally we would, the
January.
legislature would have already started planning, and actually, we would already have dates set up with Ways and Means for us to go in and actually advocate for whatever line items or support that we want to try to give.
Good.
Right now, there's been no budget. The only thing, I shouldn't say the only thing, the budget-wise, what we have from the administration is they've issued a supplemental budget,
Yep.
which basically carries over what the Baker-Polito administration had filed at the end of last year.
Right.
Because the session ended, it had to be refiled.
Right.
So right now,
Right.
the House hasn't done a budget. No, it does not have a budget from the administration to look at. Normally, we would also be planning, Ways and Means would be planning hearings all over the state.
Yep.
To get public input. So
Yep.
none of that has happened. We're still waiting for, where we just voted on rules. We still do not know who is getting which committee assignments.
Right.
So we're assuming that Aaron Michaelwitz in the House will stay, and the same thing in the Senate, that Senator Rodericks will stay as the Ways and Means chair.
What are you? Where are you? What committees are you on?
Last session, I was chair of post audit, vice chair, post audit and oversight. I was vice chair of financial services. I was on, as a committee member, Ways and Means, Natural Resources, Environment, and Labor and Workforce.
The workforce.
Yeah. So now, so all that every 2 years,
Could change.
well, probably will change.
Pardon?
It probably will change.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
So other than the first
Okay.
3 years that I had, I shouldn't say first 3 years. From my second, third, fourth, I maintained the Committee on Higher Education. Then I went from Committee
Did a
on
lot
Higher.
of work on that.
Yeah, it was enjoyable. Then I went from that to chairing public safety, municipalities, and what else did I have? I was chair of bonding,
Okay.
and then this past year was just was post audit and oversight.
What's post-audit do?
So post audit, it's a standing committee. It's not a joint committee. So which means it's just a Senate committee. Then the House also has a post audit committee, which is a standing committee. And basically, it's like an investigative body. So we're one of the few committees that have subpoena authority. So if there was something going on that we determined needed, like these congressional oversight hearings you see going on, where
Yep.
they were issuing subpoenas and all that. So technically, we could actually be that committee.
Okay.
So if we had something of that nature going on here, we could be the one from the Senate to do that. And then you have a separate House.
Okay, so Healy's initial supplemental budget that you just discussed, okay? 282 million gross, 154 million net for fiscal '23. Fiscal '23 starts July 1st.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Most of it dealing with housing issues. I mean, that was the first thing that Maura Healy had said. We got to do something about the crisis, the substantial crisis and chaos involved with housing and the ability of people to get it, to get into it, and all that sort of stuff.
So this is actually right now, this is dealing with emergency housing type of assistance right now.
Yep.
So this is, in general, we have a lot of housing issues.
Yep.
From emergency housing to affordable housing.
Yep.
And to access to that. But the funding that she's put forward, again, this was kind of carryover from the
Charlie
last.
Baker, right?
So it's $85 million for emergency assistance
All right.
program with DHCD. It's for temporary shelters.
Yeah.
Then there's $22 million for public schools, and this funding is to go to cover the schools, help with the costs that they're incurring from students that are coming in mid-year. So basically, we have issues with families losing homes. We also have issues with migrants
Right.
that are coming in that need shelter.
That's right.
And they have, and with them come kids, and with that comes also the pressure on the school system. So there's money for that.
Right.
We also have $130 million, which is to carry us through the slowly dwindling extra SNAP benefits,
And SNAP being
the food assistance.
food assistance.
And then we have a $65 million.
That ends, so that's, there were a lot of federal dough that went into
Yes,
it. That's
so-
what's running out in March.
Exactly. Yep. And so this 130 million will be 40% of the extra money. So that's what I'm saying. So it's gradual. We're gradually getting back down. Then we have $65 million to extend the universal school meal program.
Meal programs, yeah.
So and that's during the COVID, we went to universal meals for all kids while they were in schools.
Right.
So there's an effort this year to try to make that permanent.
Okay.
So,
All
this legislative session, so we'll see how that goes.
So even though you have said Governor Healy and Lieutenant Governor Driscoll haven't actually handed you their budget, what they,
Correct.
budget one, S1, whatever it's called.
House one.
Okay.
Yep.
You are still not sitting around doing nothing. You're preparing and filing bills yourself,
Yes.
okay?
Yep.
And there's a few of them we need to talk about. By the way, Alex, my dear friend Alex, I have to share this with you. I've done this all the time, Alex. I got to meet you sometime, talk to you on the phone. You sound like a great guy. Usually I get, when I say, Alex, well, Doreen, get Alex, okay, to tell me what's cooking down there and what we should be talking about. And I usually get 14, 15 pages with it. and you know, the ink runs out of the printer and the rest of it. So this morning, I got to press the button, and I said, "Oh, Alex has sent me stuff." So I didn't look at it, I just pressed the print button. And I said, "Okay, I'll just sit back here, have a second cup of coffee, and see what happens." All of a sudden, I get 5 pages, and I'm looking around saying, "Is the printer broken?" or something like that. So tell Alex, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So what?
Although, you know, I make fun of it, but I got to tell you, it is wonderful. For my education, it's almost like State House News. I used to, when I was more involved in politics, I used to read the State House News, because you really found out really
Yeah.
and truly what was going on down
Yep.
there, okay, that most people didn't know about it. So Alex is, you know, giving me every bill that's kicking around down there, most of which have your paw prints on somewhere along the line. Let's talk about a couple of them that you have out. You told me just before we started, you have already filed, never mind Healy and Driscoll, you have filed how many bills?
My office has filed 88 bills.
88 bills.
Yeah, now, a good majority.
Is that what senators usually do, that many?
There are some, yeah, there are some that will do more than that. Obviously, there are some that do less.
Okay.
But I have, last session, I had 86 at the
Okay.
beginning of the session.
Sure.
By the end, I think I had, because you'll get issues that come up in late file issues.
Sure.
So I think by the end, I was over 120.
God love it.
So, well, here's a good example. Like I was just telling you this morning, besides the 88 bills that we filed, there was the issue that came up at the Chamber of Commerce breakfast this morning. We have a.
That's why you were running around
So
all
we have
over the place.
So we have the distillery. That's just open. It's called the Spicy Water Distillery.
Give them a plug. In Millbury?
In Millbury, and they're going to be distilling vodka, rum, and whiskey.
Wow.
So now there's a chocolate company, Breeze Chocolate, which opened up in the new food complex at Kelly Square in Worcester.
Oh, okay.
So they're part of the Worcester Chamber and the Blackstone Valley Chamber. So the Chamber breakfast this morning, they're there because it's Valentine's Day. So as we're up getting questioned,
Booze and chocolate.
well,
Sounds like
the gentleman who opened, Barry, who opened up the distillery,
Yeah.
brings up the fact that himself and Bree, who's owner of the chocolate factory, were talking about doing some sort of collaboration with the chocolate and his distillery. And then he mentioned that, now, none of us knew this, then he mentions that, you know, today it's legal to put THC in chocolate.
Sure.
And we're just kind of looking,
Yeah.
just like looking.
Yeah, cannabis.
Then he starts.
You can put cannabis in anything.
So then he starts reading a statute on the books, which now it's actually against the law to infuse alcohol with chocolate. So this will be bill
So
number
you found
89.
out about this morning, okay?
Yeah, so
you got an aider and assistant down there, and you probably have already done it. Say, whoever it is, he or she, go find that piece of legislation and tell me what the heck.
Well, so
that's
Barry's
all
going to
about.
email it to the office, and just that is going to be okay. Here's bill number 89. So that's how the original files expand. So just so the public note, from January 9th to the 20th, between House and Senators, there were roughly 7,000 bills filed.
Wow, son of a gun.
So what we did here out of the 88.
We have a general petition thing where people can just file them themselves, can't they? Is that still in existence?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you get a lot of those?
No, very few.
Not anymore.
Not
Okay.
anymore.
right.
Most legislators, when you file the legislation, it'll say petition. It'll mention who the petition's from.
Yeah, okay.
But no, I don't think. Actually, I don't think I've ever had anyone ever
Yeah.
ask me to.
I remember in years past, how did that bill get before that? And they said,
So this is
Charlie and his wife decided, this should be a law, and they stuck it in there themselves. But you don't hear much about that at all.
Yeah, so this is what Massachusetts is one of the few states that citizens have that right.
Right.
Now, ideas for bills. The concept when I did Nikki's Law, when we
Yeah.
got Nikki's Law drafted and
Yeah.
passed,
Yeah.
that came from a constituent whose son had been victimized by someone.
Good.
So as you know, there's a difference between the legislator taking up the issue and doing it, and then someone filing it.
So, rather obviously, the availability of senators and reps and the rest of it is, people say, well, it's easy to go to them because
Yeah.
they know how to get this thing done the right way.
And also, you have to, depending what the issue is, you have to look now. If anyone comes to me with legislation, I have to look and say, okay, well, I have 88 or 89 bills.
Yeah.
Is this something I want to pursue legislatively through
Yeah.
a bill, or maybe when we do a larger piece, maybe. Now I have other issues that I have on the side that I know if there's a larger bill that comes up,
Tuck it in.
try to do an amendment to.
Yeah.
So, so there's certain things that you want to pursue through legislation, and there's certain you want to do through amendment.
Tell me about a more accessible the disability.
So basically, right now is this, and this
You put
is
together, you put together an piece
Yes.
of legislation.
Yep.
Dealing with disabilities.
So basically, the architectural access
In my
board-
present status, I'm very interested in anything that has to do with disabilities.
So we've had this filed for 2 or 3 sessions. We've come close. We've gotten it through the Senate, rather. We've had the problems getting it through the House. We actually had it, and we thought we had it done last session. The economic development bill that ended up dying,
Yeah.
the whole thing didn't go through.
Right.
This actually was in that bill. This would have resolved it. So basically what this does is, right now, you can go to a workplace
Yep.
where the break room or certain employee areas are not accessible to people with disabilities.
Exactly.
So this covers that, where it would make sure that public buildings are functionally accessible, and private buildings, workplaces,
Right.
are accessible to people with disabilities.
Right.
It seems like, I think everyone would probably say, gee, it's no-brainer. We already thought that was in place. Well, it's not. So this is what we've been trying to get done.
Great.
To move that forward.
All right.
And then we've got the, another one here is, this is an act relative to chemicals in food packaging. I think people have been paying attention to what's called PFAS. It's a forever chemical. This hopefully will be adopted part of a larger bill. The, quickly, I know you're looking at the time.
Yep.
Quickly, we have an act improving childcare.
Yeah.
This is one where, right now, schools, the child has to get tested before
Eye
they go to
tested,
school. Eye
right.
tested, but there's no follow-up after results. So we still have kids that are going to school who cannot read. And they can't
Fascinating.
read because they don't have the ability to read.
Sure.
So
Sure.
this is to try to make sure there's a follow-through. There's a database and the follow-through on appointments and making sure the children get the eyeglasses.
Yeah. You know, we still haven't gotten through all the stuff that we've gotten through, but the important part is we're ready and able to really start doing this again. It's a new year. And folks, keep in touch. We are going to be back. I promise you this time, we're going to be back on a more regular basis.
Happy Valentine's Day to everyone.
All clear.